When I first heard of DK Bonanza, I was so excited. Unbelievably so. I've never played 3D DKs, never played the N64 version, never even really played any of the platformer games that have come out. Um, so no nostalgia coming into it, but I had seen in the trailers. I'm skipping this. Everyone who hasn't seen this scene already, I'm sorry. Also, no spoilers yet. I will announce when I go into spoilers. I will not go into spoilers yet, so hang around if you're curious about my thoughts about this game overall. Then I'll dig into spoilers because I think I need to give spoilers for my review. But I was so excited for this game when it came out. Trailer was so exciting. Incredible 3D DK is back. But what really excited me, I'm going to show you in a second here, was when I saw in the trailers this right here and this text right here at the bottom, because I was like, this is Odyssey. This is Odyssey devs in a nutshell that have made this game, right? No question, right? And then that later got confirmed, which is like, of course it did. You know what I mean? So yeah, super excited for this game, super pumped, and it took me about, I want to say, 5 days to beat it. I got it on the 20th. Got it on the 20th. Beat it yesterday, or 2 days ago even. So that was the 27th. So it took me, or 26th. Sorry, 6 days. 6 days to beat the game. And I was never gonna make a video on this game. Never thought about it. And then I played it, and I think it's a really interesting thought experiment and a case study, if you will, even of like for game reviewers or for aspiring game reviewers or what have you. And I'll get into the why of that a bit more. But first, I want to go into sort of my spoiler-free edition, right? And I wish that I could dig deeper into what that means with folks who don't want to get spoiled, but truly, I can't. I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's just not possible. I've thought about it. I've tried to formulate plans around how I can talk about this game without talking about spoilers, and it would just make it a lot worse. It would just make my perspective just so much worse than I think a lot of people would maybe want, right? But let me dig into the general of this game. This game is very fun. It is worth the $70, I think, pretty easily. I think a lot of people who are upset about the price, if there are people who are upset about the price being 70 versus 60, need to realize just how lucky gamers have been over the past 50 years. Not 50 years, Jesus Christ. Over the past 15, 20 years, where it's been $60. That's been the norm, right? Outside of indie games. Just still retained a pretty decent pricing model. A very generous pricing model, even. And games have gotten so much more larger in scope, and yet the price has remained 60 throughout. Right? Like, if you look back, like, there are so much, like, more limited games that are $60 that are not worth $60 today. Like, if they were to come out today, they would not be worth $60. Just because the scope is less, or doesn't tell a good story, or whatever. This game, yeah, totally worth it. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna boycott this game because it's $70, you gotta get offline for a second and smell the roses and be like, okay, never mind. You know, I've been being a bit of a silly goose here. But regardless, very fun, worth the money. That's my take. That's not my only spoiler-free take. The controls of this game are very well done. They feel super smooth, especially as you get used to them. There's a lot to master in this game. For example, this was something that they showed in the trailers originally. Being able to turf slide. And just the controls in this game are very seamless. Very, very well done. The world design, I would also like to give credit to. I think the world design is fairly sharp. I don't think there's many worlds that I disliked. So I think the level design is fantastic. I think there's a lot of fun puzzles. I think it's a very good formula. I think the pacing at times is a little rough, but overall, it's a fun experience, and I think you'll have a great time with this game. And I would, in a nutshell, I'd give it a 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. I'd probably lean actually towards like 8.7. I need to be like super hyper specific about it. Maybe 8.8. I'll do 8.8. 8.8 feels right. Let's do 8.8. And sadly, I think that's where the end of my spoiler-free edition of this game review comes to a close. Because there's a lot of really interesting things I want to dive into in this review, and I want to express those things. I'll let you guys watch this cutscene if you'd like before the spoiler-free version ends of this. But yeah, overall, really fun. The new design for DK, also really creative, fun risk that they took with his design, and I think it paid off immensely. I love his design and his expression, his animation in this game. Really well done. Really, really creative. Really just stellar. They didn't have to do that, and they did it because, you know, it was the right call. It just looks stellar. Looks absolutely stellar. I think even when this game wasn't announced and they had Mario Kart trailers and they accidentally showed DK in one of them and the new design, people were like laughing at it a little bit, like what happened, but it makes perfect sense. Flawless design, no questions. It's really well done. And I think that's everything that's been covered in trailers already. That would not be spoiling the game any further. At least stuff that I didn't know going into it. So I'm gonna leave it at that for the spoiler-free edition. So, forewarning, if you don't want to be spoiled on this game, I'm going to be digging into spoilers very shortly here. So back out, come back when you play the game. Overall, recommend, right? Huge recommend. Give it a go. It's really great. But I'm going to dive into spoilers now. So leave. You've been warned a plethora of times here. Leave the video if you do not want to be spoiled about DK Bananza, and I would recommend you don't want to be. Okay. Now that we have folks here that are not going to be worrying about spoilers, let me go to my main account here. I realized that as I was playing some of this, that it revealed my hearts bar, which is already a spoiler in some ways, because you're like, well, you can gain hearts. You know, there's a way to go back to the prologue if you're careful enough. So, unfortunately, you know, I started this review and then I was like, wait, people are gonna get spoiled on the hearts bar. I don't want to do it. Okay, we are here now. DK Bananza. This is officially marking the spoiler version. So endgame stuff coming up very shortly here. Again, last chance. Last chance. Endgame stuff is coming up very shortly here. I'm still in the prologue, but I do need to go back to the map. So spoilers, endgame spoilers. Do not look. Do not look. If you're still here and you don't want to get spoiled and then you complain about spoilers, I will be upset. Viciously upset with you, okay? DK Bananza was a game that I started playing and was seeing everyone online say, this game is so good, absolutely one of the best Nintendo titles in forever. And when I started playing it, I was so excited to play it, of course. And I really wasn't liking it. I'll be honest. I was not liking it. This is not like a trick. All my spoiler-free review is correct. It's all correct. But I did not like this game starting it off. I didn't. I think a lot of the early worlds were well designed, but I thought the formula that was created, and I know I said that the opposite in the spoiler review, I thought the formula was really bad. I thought the pacing was super slow. I thought there was a lot of unnecessary fluff, and I was leaning towards not recommending this game, to be honest with you. I was even telling friends, I was like, I have a review, I have an opinion of this game, I have opinions of this game. Let me beat it first before I tell you anything. Because I was like, in my head I was like, I think I'm missing something. And sure enough, I was. At the end of the day, obviously, that is a spoiler in and of itself, is that you know that I like this game, right? This is post-game stuff, too, so... Again, that's why I said the spoiler thing like 1,000 times. When I first played this game, I thought the pacing was ridiculously slow. I thought this first Lagoon Layer world, it was pretty mediocre. Hilltop layer, very bland. Canyon layer, okay, but still slow pacing. And then it came to this divide section where you are stuck in between these two layers. You pick a side, and then you go to the junction to advance. And you had to go back to beat the other world before you were able to fully dive into the junction. And it was at this point where I really developed a lot of those feelings, a lot of those I don't like this game because the pacing of these two worlds were exceptionally slow, and they were very formulaic. They were both the exact same formula. It was go to the Elder, save the Elder, beat the level, and that was it for both of them. And obviously, it was much longer than that, but you get the point. I saw these two levels and I thought, "Holy, is this game really that bad?" Like genuinely, I was like, I didn't even want to say it was bad. Like on Blue Sky, I said like it was good. Like because I was like I had a feeling I was missing something, and also I really didn't want to be like the guy who's like I have the counter take kind of thing. Like I want to be a rebel because I want to have a counter take. And then it was at this moment also where like I just was feeling like a lot of like stress at work. Like work was just a lot. It was a busy week, and I was playing this game while I was in that busy week. And I think part of my experience potentially, and I don't know. I still feel like the pacing of these areas were a bit bad, and maybe people disagree, or if you've played it, let me know. But I think that stress like really soaked into my experience in this section of the game. I really do think so, even into like resort layer to an extent, although a little less so with the resort area. The resort area was a good break. But I had this dilemma here in this section where I was like, dang, I really don't like this game. I really don't think I like this game. I don't think it was maybe worth the investment. I almost stopped playing the game entirely because I was just like, what's the point if I don't like the game? I'm just forcing myself through it. It's not compared to Odyssey. It's not compared to Breath of the Wild in terms of quality, like I was seeing on Blue Sky, like 1,000 times. Not 1,000 times. I saw like 3 or 4 posts probably say it, like 10 out of 10 or like not like insanely good, whatever. And then a few days pass. It's the weekend. It's Saturday. I go to Resort. Love the little change of pace of Resort. Loved Tempest Layer. I think Tempest Layer, it still followed the same formula as these two, but the world felt exceptional. It was so good. Like a stormy world where there's like lightning that like affects the terrain in points. There's the lava rain where you got to hold up a block to stop the rain from hitting you. It was super well done with the world design, much better than uh and again maybe this was stress induced, I don't know, but much better than the land is frozen, we need to stop the land from freezing. The land is poisoned, we need to stop the land from being poisoned. Like this was like there is a crazy storm and it has a number of different effects on the volcano area, on this area, on that area. And also these first 3 power-ups were awful, I think. Not awful, but not great. This one was very bland. Originally when I first played the game, very bad power up. The Kong power up was just kind of like whatever. I punched stuff, big deal. I already punched stuff. The running guy was cool, but it was also gimmicky because it was restricted to, in a lot of ways, that terrain type. And then you also had the ostrich, where it was just a flight ability, which was like fine, but also was restricted to like puzzles in most ways. There were a few like cool jump cuts you could do on a few levels, but mostly the design of the worlds were very linear and very much like you go to from point A to point B. There's not a ton of creativity with how you explore the areas. There's some, but not a ton. And then you get to Elephant, who might be my favorite power up in any game. Might have saved this game for me. And again, I don't know if it was stress induced or not. I don't know. Again, I was stressed out of my mind in this area, so I was just playing the game just because I wanted to beat it. But then I go to Tempest Lair. I get the Elephant power up. It's a weekend, and I'm just vacuuming everything. And it is the most. It's so satisfying. the way it works, I'll actually show you guys a little bit of how this works now. Obviously, you're aware of this because you've beaten the game and you didn't want spoilers. So I don't really need to show you. But the fact that you could vacuum stuff up and then throw it and then use it for like the rail grinds or use it to turf surf or what have you, like it was just like such a brilliant power up. Not even for something that was like very obvious, like flight, speed, punch are all very obvious power ups. But then it came to elephant power up and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, this is a much more creative idea. The song reminded me of like the Goron cities back in Zelda. It was just fantastic. So brilliant. Loved this power up. Single-handedly saved the game for me. And so it kept me going, right? This power up single-handedly kept me going in this game. Because I was like, this is a breath of fresh air compared to the other power-ups that were being explored, which were just mostly basic, like stuff that like, I don't know, like a ChatGPT could even create, to be honest. Like speed, flight, and punch. You know what I mean? Like, it was like whatever. Like, it was just like the most obvious like superhero powers ever. But this was like really cool because like you could do this, you could do the turf surf on it, you could just do the whole blowing thing, which is really good. And all the different materials that you gather having a different effect depending on, you know, what the material is made of. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant stuff. The skill tree, I still am like a little impartial to. I think it's minus? No, where's skill tree in this game? I don't fully remember. Up on the D-pad. Skill tree's fine. I don't mind it. This is the end, what I ended up winning the game with. Still have a couple power-ups to go, but overall felt pretty strong at the end of the game. But I was kind of iffy on the skill tree. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I usually don't like skill trees in the games unless it's like very intentional to the overall design of the game versus just like cosmetic junk that you don't really need necessarily. But overall, I'm okay with the skill tree. I thought it was fine the more I played the game. It was nice to have. It was a fine progression system. I don't know how much it was needed, but it was fine. It was fine. Regardless, though, the elephant power saved the day for me. Totally saved the day. Let's go back to the Gong now to go through the rest of the worlds here. So I get this elephant power up, and I'm like, okay. Now I'm back in. I like this game again a bit more because this power-up is really original, unique, and this level overall felt really good. Like every little section had its own different thing that felt like it was within the environment. Versus this, where I think it had like a bouncy section, which was like why. It felt a lot more connected with the world, so it made a lot of sense. That plus the connection with the specific block type that's like a rainbow that lets you float up. Really awesome block type. One of my favorites in the game, and probably in both Mario 3D platformers ever. Really, really brilliant. Okay, so now we're at Tempest Lair. Love Tempest Lair. Landfill, it was a cool change of pace because you had to really you literally unearthed where the city was, and you had to like, it was a much more different experience, which another issue I had with this game, especially in this section, was every world felt kind of similar in like the formula you went through and how you discover the world and, you know, what have you. This was a nice change of pace. You started at just this flat base area and you dig down and go. And then Racing Layer comes along, and I'm like, I'm in love. Because they bring back Diddy and Dixie, of course. They bring a racing game to it, which, honestly, the racing game, it wasn't that great. But it was fine, and it was fun, and it was a great change of pace. And this is where I was like, holy, they really are taking the right steps. And then you run into Radiance Layer, and also really brilliant puzzles around this area, with lightness and darkness and the different shadow things, as well as a decent power-up. I think the snake power-up is good, not great. It's original, which I liked. And then it happens where you lose Pauline and you get put in jail at the Groove Layer, which was just so good. So good to realize like all that Pauline was doing, because I never really like put two and two together. Like Pauline was the one who was empowering these different transformations. So not having transformations level was really cool. Change of pace, and again, it just changed the formula a lot more than these other levels were. I think my biggest issue with this game at first, and what my ultimate take was this felt like an indie game with the scope of a AAA game, in that it has a formula that is perfected, or maybe it is very good, and they just repeat that formula until you beat the game. But this, it sort of did that at first, and then it really pivoted with these next 3, 4, 5 worlds even. All of them felt very unique. The Feast Layer, literally an American style. I could only consider America world, to be honest with you. Literally a hamburger bridge, the cheese, the amusement parks, all of that fun stuff. And then you go to Forbidden Layer, and it's like everything's blocked off by different coin amounts. But it's also rewarding because it's like once you unlock those walls, you unlock the privilege to what is ultimately King K. Rool back in the game, which is so freaking awesome. The fact that that was a reveal that I don't think many people knew about going into this. I definitely didn't know about King K. Rool even being in this game, so really cool to have him back and really be the twist villain at the end of the day. That was really awesome. Um, and just the overall story as well. The more I think about the pacing of these two sections and it growing into Pauline's ability to sing in front of these audiences, like you could see the confidence growing in that character until it eventually leads to this portion where she sings DK back. And then ultimately gets to go to the surface once more to reclaim the throne at New Donk City. It was really sick. It was really an awesome experience, and I understand the pacing decisions looking back at these two levels. Like, I see why we went slower with these. I see it now. I didn't see it at first, but I see it now looking back, and I'm like, that makes sense because they really were building up to something that was special and cool, and ultimately led to, you know, a really awesome theme and story that was just really sick. Really sick. Didn't cry. I felt it coming, but I didn't cry. So I don't know. If you happen to still be here, don't care about spoilers, and wanted to just get the emotion meter, it's cryable, but I didn't cry. And I'm sorry you went to that. So trust me, I didn't, but I wish I did, honestly. But I think really this is a lesson on reviewing games and, you know, going at it with an open mind. Like, if you don't like the first part of a game, don't let that stop you. Especially if you trust the developer and you hear other people's takes on it too, where it's like people are saying this is such a brilliant game, and it's like I was honestly like around 6 when I first graded this game, or when I was like in this area, in this limbo kind of thing. I was like around like a 6, and then Tempest came around. I was like 7, and then it just kept going up probably to like the 8.8 I'm at now. And I think also it's like when you play a game, you want to make sure you can fully enjoy it and you're in the right headspace to play it. Because I think I wasn't in the right headspace to play this first section, and maybe my opinion would be completely different on these sections had I been in a better headspace. I was just in such a quick rush to beat it because there's just so many games out there that I want to get to, and also just so excited to play this game. So, a number of different reasons, right? And it really left a sour taste in my mouth, and I think a lot of that was just from not being in the right headspace to play the game. And obviously, I'm cool now. It's just sometimes life can get stressful, and I'm here. I'm good now, though, right? And I really enjoyed my time with this game. I finished all of this probably in a day of playing it. I mean, it was a full day of playing it, but still, like it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. And yeah, I mean, that's my take on DK Bananza. It was a game that I went into with really high hopes. It really let me down early, but I think a lot of my letdown with this game was because I just was not in the right mental space to really enjoy a game, you know? So I guess take that as the lesson, maybe. Like that's kind of where my head was at with this review, where sometimes you're not in the right space to do the things that you love or to get the most out of the things you love. And it's really important to give yourself the rest and the reprieve to be like, I'm going to take a moment, respect my mental, right? And take the time I need to get back into doing the things I love. And if that's too deep for a DK review, I wouldn't want to be making reviews in the first place. So yeah, I just wanted to give my honest thoughts on this game, where I was at, my journey with it. Again, I'd recommend it. I think, I don't know if you'll have the same ethereal experiences maybe I had, but I just wanted to share that with y'all on kind of my thoughts around it and how it went, my journey with this game. And again, overall, I think it's one of the better 3D platformers that Nintendo has made in a while. I don't know yet if it tops Odyssey, but also I don't know if it's fair to even compare it to Odyssey because It's more of like an action adventure and less like a platformer. And the platform elements are still fantastic. It still controls super well. It controls as good as Odyssey, if not maybe slightly better in some aspects. But it is more akin to like a Legend of Zelda in a lot of ways, where it is an adventure that you're going through. You know, you're collecting powers, you're upgrading your health, and it is more of an action adventure than a necessarily 3D platformer. But it's kind of like a weird genre blend of the two that I really enjoyed and I had a great time with. So if you're interested in playing it, I still think it's worth playing, even if you got spoiled and like you were like, I'm just gonna take the spoilers because I just really want to know what this game's all about. I still think it's 100% worth playing. I mean, I experiencing the moments that I stated versus me going through them is way better. But I still think you can experience them and have a really good time regardless of if you got spoiled now. So I hope you didn't watch this if you were unspoiled and then you got spoiled because of this. But if you did, I still recommend it, one or the other. I really do. And if you're in the same boat as me and you're like, I just simply don't want to play this game again, for whatever reason, if you had the same issue I had at this divide section, trust me, it gets better. Again, I hate that I say this now, realizing I just said the whole entire plot of the game. But I didn't get too far. There's still definitely some surprises I left for y'all. So, but yeah. And I think I'm also somebody who, looking back at some of my like impressions or reviews of games, I wish I want to continue to be more honest, right? Like I did not like this game at first, but then it really grew on me and I really enjoyed it. But there are moments where, and I don't know if I've ever played a game that like I really didn't like, on the channel. But I think moving forward, I'm gonna try to be a bit more honest about like, maybe I don't like this game as much. I'm trying to think of any examples of like a game that I played that I really didn't like that much. Let me see if I can find one now because I want to be more honest about that type of stuff. I think that's important to give you guys the right impression of games. Nothing recent for sure, but maybe there was like something way back in the day that I was like, I don't know. I think Zorbus may be one of them. It was kind of meh. Zorbus was okay. I didn't like Psychonauts. I was honest about Psychonauts. Yeah, I think that was probably the only one that I ran into that I was like, I really just don't like playing this game. So I try to be honest about that stuff. I stopped playing Cult because I really got bored of the loop. Cosmic Shake was pretty bad. Um, I think that was probably the one that I was least honest about because I think I got views on it. But no, I recorded that whole thing and then I had gotten the views on it. So maybe it's a different thing with that one. But either way, that game not so great. But yeah, either way, I'll be more honest about that type of stuff. I don't think many have come up, to be frank, but as they come up, I'll definitely be more real with y'all because I think that's important to just keep authenticity. And you know, I'm not like a formal reviewer or anything, but just it's good to give first impressions that are a little bit more actually in that first impression space. So, but yeah, that's my review of the game. 8.8. It's really fun. I recommend it. It's a game that the score might keep going up for me. Honestly, I gotta play more of the post game to really like fully give my honest opinions on this, and also just maybe even replay it because of that section that I ran into that maybe is less troublesome than I realized. I think there are some issues with this game. I think one of them is the pacing of singing away the tape. I don't think that's needed to be nearly as long as it is. It could be long for the first couple worlds, and then after that, you get the idea. Sing for like half a second and it blows up, or not even half a second. Like as soon as it's seeing it, it goes type of thing, because you know it already, right? So I think that would just be a nice quality of life change for future. And I think my last take on this game is I think this is a game that people are going to be seeing as the Super Mario Galaxy the Super Mario Galaxy to what will be the Super Mario Galaxy 2 of this version of the game. I think there's a lot here that you can really build off of, and I think Super Mario Galaxy is a game that is not critically panned. It was a game that was received well, but then 2 came out, and you're like, wow, this blew it out of the water in a lot of ways. At least that's what I hear. I never played 2. I've played 1. 1 was okay, not great. But 2 I hear is fantastic. So I'm going to take people's words for that and assume that that is a apt comparison to make. Because I see this game being, it's a great game and it's a great foundation for what could be an even greater game down the line. So I'm very excited to see what that looks like as well. Which I think is also a bit of a spoiler. So I try not to give like my like full takes on spoiler free ones. or on spoiler free ones rather, just because I really don't like going into the weeds on that type of stuff. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at. So if you enjoyed this review, leave a like. I will not be making DK Bonanza content more than likely. If I do, it'll probably be somewhere in the Checkout Brigade in like a race format or what have you. But that won't be for a long, long while probably. So yeah, this game's fun. I enjoy it. Give it a go if you're interested. I'm not showing much gameplay to be fair, but also again, this is spoiler free. This is spoilered, so you know the game already. I don't need to show all the little details here. Yeah, that's it. All right. Thanks all. Peace.